Bringing intimacy back. What does intimacy mean to you? In a world that feels more connected than ever, many people feel more disconnected than ever. It's time to reconnect. It's time to communicate. It's time to bring intimacy back. Bringing Intimacy Back, hosted by Dr. April Brown, the Doctor of Intimacy, co-hosted by Brittany Garcia and Thomas Lester. Intimacy is more than sex. It's connection. It's communication. It's relationship. Bringing intimacy back, where intimacy is real, creating deeper connections, one conversation at a time.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Brittany and Tommy?
Doing good. Ready for the day.
Yes, you ready for the day? Yes. I mean, we have an exciting topic today. We are talking about OOE today.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah.
Yes, the big O. Yes. One of the big O's that we're talking about today is oversharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not the big O a lot of people just thought you were talking about, but like still one the same, you know?
Yes. But then also the second O is the online attention. Yes, yeah, which sometimes for some people when they get in this online stuff and they're oversharing, they do have the other big O's.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and then how that can also sometimes lead into emotional cheating.
Yeah, sadly.
Yes. And that's our big topic for today is emotional cheating, which happens so quickly, you know, and if you're out there and you're like in a relationship, this may be happening, please listen. And and chime in if you have questions. And if you're out there and you're like, shit, I'm kind of in that situation myself, please also still listen because we have a lot to talk about. Before we get into that, we are always doing a charity of the month, and the charity we're doing this month is the Attachment and Trauma Network Center. They provide healing for children who've dealt with a lot of trauma and stuff, and so please check them out. Their website is attachmenttraumanetwork.org. All right. Let's get into this thing about emotional cheating. I think we need to first just take out that last part is cheating. You know, many people say like, I don't even know when I'm cheating or am I cheating or my partner says I'm cheating, but I'm not cheating. I mean, how does that go?
I don't know. My question is, how does one not know what they're doing? How does one not know that they are emotionally cheating? So, like, I guess give us, in your example, in your approach, can you give us like a little bit of a...
So let's say I'm talking with my coworker, you know, and coworkers see them all the time. And then they share with me about what issues they're going on with their marriage. And I share with them. And then next thing you know, we're at lunch, we're talking about it. You know, he never pays attention to me. She's always making me do X, Y, Z, you know, and then we start sharing jokes at night and we start texting at night and all this kind of stuff. Is that cheating yet?
So I think in this, when we talked, as we do in between the episodes, as we get together and talk about the upcoming episodes, we talk about intent and motive.
Right.
You know, what's the intent behind that conversation, and what is the motive also that's following it?
Yeah, but maybe maybe he makes me feel great. I don't know. Yeah.
But are you hiding those messages from your particular loved one, spouse? You know, is this in secret? I think we also have to look at the behavior that follows what is happening. Right. Choices are being made, and then are you hiding those choices? So I go back to that. How does one not know? I see the easy slide, and we have clients that talk to us about some of those. But at some point, we start trying to correct, or we think we're trying to correct by hiding, changing passwords on phones, conversating on times when the loved one is not around. You know, keeping things hush hush. Because there's a part of us that knows that what we're doing is not right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think a really important question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brittany.
No, I think a really important question that would come up is the friendship supporting my relationship, or is it slowly replacing certain aspects of it? Because most emotional affairs don't necessarily begin with somebody thinking, hey, I'm going to go out and betray my partner. Like we were saying, it starts in those small moments, and each one of those small interactions, whether that be texting late at night, sharing some personal information or personal struggles pertaining to a relationship or something that's an intimate fact about your life, becoming the first person that you want to tell your good news to or your bad news to. Each of those behaviors might seem harmless on their own, but together they start building upon that emotional intimacy. And I know a few episodes back, we started talking about bids for connection and those small things, reaching out to our partners to strengthen our relationships. So if those bids for connection are starting to happen in other relationships outside of your own, what is the motive behind it? Like Tommy was saying, is it supporting my relationship to have these conversations, or is it just putting a wedge in between me and my partner in those moments?
Yeah. Okay. The motive behind it. And I guess we have one, well, there's actually two comments. One is, can men and women really be friends? Do you believe that there's always the possibility that one person will want more from the relationship? And thank you, Teresa. Yeah. Can men and women really be friends? So, Tommy, you were stating it's about the motive and hiding. So,
Yeah,
what if
intent and
we,
motive. Yeah.
yeah. So, what if we told our partner, hey, I have this guy, and maybe this also, because someone also asks about a best friend for years, you know, this has been my best friend for 10 years, but
Mhm.
we're talking, we're exchanging stuff. My partner knows.
Yeah, the two questions that we have, we're again we're asking that question: can men and women cohabitate here? And I can answer from the side of being a married man. I can relate to the one question about a best friend. I have a longtime best friend of mine. She's like a sister to me. And however, in the process of dating my wife, getting married to my wife, and being married to my wife now for 12, going on more than 12 years, 14 years plus an entire relationship, my wife is my ultimate best friend. My best friend does not trump her. And my best friend and my wife also have a good friendship as well. There is no secrets between all that. And there does come a time, and it did come a time, where I had to kind of separate a little bit of what was being shared with this best friend, because I needed to start sharing that with my wife, because that was to be my ultimate best friend. And so, but there's no secrets there. There's nothing for me to hide. There's nothing for me to be ashamed of in that. So I think, again, my intent and my motive being pure, and being that I wanted to keep that friendship where it was. She's a great person in my life. But it gets to a point where I don't necessarily see the sex anymore, as in like she's a woman, I'm a male. She is a person, and she's
Mhm.
got values, she's got dignity, she's got worth. And that dignity and worth and value brings a lot to my life as a friend.
Okay.
And so I think it is possible, but I think it's based on where is the basics of the relationship and what's the intent of keeping that relationship. So to follow the other one, can men and women be friends? I think absolutely they can, but you have to make sure you have good boundaries
Hmm.
in the
And like,
process.
right, and I agree with you. I do think men and women can be friends, and if you have your best friends from prior to your partner, your husband, you really do have to make sure when your husband and your partner comes into your life, to set those boundaries, to set
Yeah.
those alignments and stuff. But then I know that there are also that sometimes people just meet someone,
Mhm.
whether it's through work, the yoga studio, the gym, church, and they start to become friends.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brittany, what do you think from that perspective when it's a newer relationship?
I think whenever there's any type of newer relationship, whether it be friendships, romantic interests, there's always that, for lack of better wording, I guess you could say honeymoon phase, right?
Mhm.
But boundaries always still need to be present. that's the biggest caveat for everything, because like we've been saying, absolutely, men and women can have healthy and good friendships. Tommy and I have started to develop a friendship, but it's all within the respect of doing this podcast together, co-working together. Having, those conversations with each other, sometimes with his wife included in them, and they're wonderful conversations that we're able to have with each other, and we've developed a little trio there. So it all comes down to those boundaries and that respect, because healthy relationships don't necessarily require us to give up friendships, even if they are newer connections. They require us to essentially protect the emotional space that's meant to be unique within our partnerships, because our partnerships do have that unique aspect of being able to be vulnerable to a greater length than we are with our friendships, where we're able to express ourselves fully. Our partners see us, through the thick of it, through the thin of it, through those great moments, through those really, really testing times. And it's not to say that our friendships or our newer relationships don't see the same, but they don't see the full picture as much as our partners do. So the goal of having those boundaries is to really protect the sanctity of being in a relationship and of what that relationship symbolizes in your life.
Okay, yeah, definitely. We just got like a question which I think relates somewhat, especially when you're just starting to date. It's a newer, the guys or the partner's new, and you've had these friends for lifetime. And maybe one of them or two of them have been friend of the opposite sex. So the question is, but nowadays, if you drop your friends because of a relationship, your friends assume you're being fake. And kind of, I was trying to think, Tommy, when you were saying earlier how at some point you focused on your wife, you had to set boundaries. When does that part happen?
It'll probably happen a little bit different for everyone. I don't want to like kind of put a time frame that's a stipulation, because it comes with honesty. One, I had to be honest with myself in the intent behind my relationship with my wife, and honesty with myself in the intent behind why I wanted to keep the friends I kept. And then in that honesty, and as love grew, I'm a big proponent that love has to mature. We go from, I was feeling that I loved my wife to then choosing that I wanted to love her. I wanted to be with her. It's in the maturity of that I had to come up with the answer of like, well, if I'm going to keep my friendships pure and honest and keep them, I got to have the worlds collide in a healthy way. So everyone's going to approach that a little bit different. But I would say this statement, like, I'll be honest, if a relationship is new and you're being pressured to lose your friends and you've had these friends, I don't know. My question is the relationship that's pressuring, is that worth keeping?
That's true.
Yeah,
Like I wouldn't have wanted to lose my friends, and I wouldn't have wanted my wife. My wife has a lot of core friends. I wouldn't have wanted her to lose those just because of dating me. I want to be a part of that world, not all of it. And so like being a part of her world allowed me to meet her friends. It expanded my world. It brought me into things and vice versa. And so, you have to ask, if the person loves you is true and it's a good relationship, then wouldn't they want to also know your friends, be a part of that friend group, and hopefully build a healthy relationship with them as well as you?
That's true. Yeah. I think sometimes when you meet someone and you get so enthralled in it, you even get kind of like I remember when I was younger, you get even kind of like ripped. That's so, you're like so involved in this person. You're like, oh my gosh. And then you put so much and you like, they want to take you out on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You kind of neglect your friends. Yeah.
The honeymoon phase. That's you mentioned that. Right? It happened. It can. But again, at some point, a person needs to kind of like, wait, what am I doing? And where are my boundaries? And is my possibility of losing friends or losing that relationship going to happen if I keep doing, all of this, at the same time? So choices, decisions, it's still got motive, intent, all of it. It comes into question.
Yeah. Do you see that, Brittany, in your group of friends these days?
Maybe not necessarily in my group of friends, but I have, you mentioned being whipped. And that is definitely something that I've had many a conversation with my teen clients, my young adult clients. That is essentially almost a fear that they don't want to be portrayed as being whipped and being in that puppy dog stage of a relationship, because it's frowned upon in certain aspects of either cultural norms, this, that, and the third. So the important conversation is, what does whipped entail for certain people? And what
Do
is it?
explain.
Basically following somebody around, and catering to their emotional needs. From my understanding, and again, I could be wrong because I'm kind of in the later part of the 20s type situation here. So from my understanding, it's puppy dog falling behind somebody, being emotionally attuned with them, being emotionally present with them. That's seen as like, oh, why would you do that? And that's the complete opposite of what is considered healthy in a relational dynamic, because everybody wants to feel seen. Everybody wants to feel heard. Everybody wants to feel emotionally supported. But what does that look like in the context of today's youngsters might vary greatly from what it looked like when other generations were younger. So I'm curious, what did that look like when you guys were younger? Maybe like your version of whipped, I guess we could say.
What? I'm in my 20s. What are you talking about? Yeah. I don't know. That's I don't think on that question, to be honest with you. It's nothing that I think I've experienced, to be honest, and I don't know that I had any friends of mine that I can think off the top of my head that experienced it. So, but what you described, I would probably say, if I'm really thinking about it, it would probably be somewhat of the same. It's losing yourself in someone else.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which all kind of goes back to boundaries, not having boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Where you just follow someone around, or just, lose yourself, Yeah. But I was also just thinking, when I was thinking about boundaries, and just how much it must be harder these days, because especially we have this online social media. Yeah. And I know that sometimes we put in our stuff of how we're feeling and what's going on, and people DM us, and somehow people start making connections. And if you're always texting or on social media with someone, but it's not your partner, and you're sharing stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Social media has really become a hot topic in relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I'm seeing more couples in the counseling space that have some connection with social media in the intimacy world and the emotional world that's causing disruption in their relationships. I think as technology increases, as our world increases, and as tolerance increases, we're seeing that you can almost, and I'm going to bridge into something that hopefully doesn't open a can of worms, but you could almost get into pornographic kind of things with social media. And some people get trapped in, and I'm going to say a term I told my wife, I don't know if I was comfortable saying, but like it goes into that whole thirst trap perspective, and it gets people trapped. And there's an expectation involved in that, why they're liking it and following it. And you're not going to get what you think back from it, but you are subtracting from what's present, your relationship. And yeah, it's a difficult thing when we have couples in front, because you don't have an infraction you can see. Emotional. It's online.
So Tommy, you said you're subtracting. And so people out there listening thinking, well, what's wrong if I'm just hitting like to these people in bikinis, or a man with no shirt on, or or giving kisses or hearts.
Yeah. It can seem innocent, and I can get the logic behind someone justifying it, but here's a reality I think about. Again, what is the intent and motive behind why you are following it? As a man, if there's something that caught my eye and I find it attractive, well, here's a reality, and I'm also talking from a Christian perspective on this. As a man, my wife is to have my eyes and my heart.
Mm.
So if I go to Instagram or I go to social media and all of a sudden something catches my gaze and I give it too much attention and then I start getting trapped in that, I'm starting to fall into an image that I might believe I don't have. Now, how could that make my wife feel if she catches me one day liking all these other girls that are possibly different than her? How's she supposed to feel about that? No more than how would I feel if I was to find out the other side. There's these guys that might look different than me or, whatever. Yeah, probably not gonna feel good. I understand the innocence that someone could justify in the beginning, but at some point you start to continue and continue and you make a choice to go back to it. That's why I say subtracting, because you could be putting that effort into your current relationship, bettering it, but you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that to your point, people often minimize behaviors that are online by saying either it's just Instagram, it's just Facebook, it's just Snapchat. But if that same interaction were to happen face to face with repeated compliments, prolonged eye contact, seeking somebody else's attention, which is essentially what's happening through those comments, through those likes, it'll be very, very different. The internet doesn't necessarily erase the impact of our behavior. It just simply changes the platform. And one of the healthiest questions from that we can take away is, does this behavior help build trust, or is it slowly chipping away the trust in my relationship? And that can kind of help us better decipher in the moment if that like is just a like, or if that like might be with a different undertone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is interesting how and you hit it, like, why is it that the red flags we would have in the present physical awareness of things, we don't tend to keep those same red flags in the social media world?
Right, because sometimes you pretend we're somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but in reality, what you do online is a reflection of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know just online and stuff, there's the settings where people can put whether they're in a relationship or not in a relationship. And I don't know if couples have that discussion. Yeah. And then the other discussion is, so I have all the social media. Do I have my partner becomes a friend with me on this or not? And, is my phone open for my partner to see everything or not? These are the things young people have to think about in relationships.
Yeah.
And older people too, because there's a lot of us. Yeah.
I always say when it comes to some of this, it doesn't just affect. I'm glad you said older people, because I have a wonderful privilege of being able to sometimes walk with people in premarital. And recently, I've actually been able to sit with some couples in like their 50s or 60s. And I tell you what, the googly, the puppy dog stuff,
Yes.
the honey, it's still alive.
Right.
And it gives me hope, even though I'm married, but that idea that, like, just because I age doesn't mean I lose
No,
things,
of
right?
course.
So it's still there. And some of these things that can trip up younger, it can still trip up the older generation too. And so, one of our comments is something about, like, what about prior to social media? And yeah, think about the younger generations have the privilege of, like, cell phones, technology. I mean, they're born in it. But the older population that's not, and they're trying to figure this stuff out, they're more susceptible, I think, at times, depending on the education level of how they know technology, to maybe fall into some of this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but love is based on how we approach it, how we care for it. And I love seeing some of the older individuals that show that and display that. So I'm glad that you mentioned about older individuals, not just younger.
No, it happens to us all. Yeah. And so it's kind of like you guys said, is to be open and honest about it. Yeah. So we don't, slip into, because emotional cheating is very, how can I put it? It's very hard, and compared to physical cheating, emotional cheating is harder to get rid of, because once you develop that emotional connection, you're sharing your stories, you're sharing your pains, you're sharing this, you're sharing that. You're becoming more vulnerable versus just a physical cheating. So it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so cheating nonetheless. So either which way, physical or emotional, it's gonna wreak havoc and damage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that emotional perspective, yeah, you're tying together life, emotions, heart, sometimes soul. So yeah, it is. It kind of can glue people even when they really don't mean it. And so yeah, you do have to be mindful of what you're doing, who you're talking to, what are you offering, what are you receiving back, and where are your boundaries to keep yourself okay. So you don't have to worry about that, like, oh my gosh, I just messed up moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was thinking about we may have listeners out there who are in a situation where they are feel like they cannot talk to their partner.
Mm.
And so they've been talking with the opposite sex, or even maybe, and I know I'm saying the opposite sex, but emotional cheating can also happen with the same sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this person's been giving him back feedback and talking to him, making him laugh and stuff. And now they realize, well, maybe this is falling into that emotional cheating. What should I do?
Hmm.
I think that's a really great question, and I always like to start off with checking in with yourself. If you're able to recognize that it's emotional cheating, like Tommy and everybody said a bunch of times already, is check in with yourself about the motive behind the behavior. Why was I doing this? Why was I reaching out to this person? Was there secrecy involved? Did I not include my partner in these conversations? Why did I not include my partner in these conversations? What is the motivation behind that behavior that you found yourself in a place where you were emotionally cheating on your partner? And I think another aspect of that is to also reflect upon what might be lacking within your relationship. What type of connection are you craving with your partner that you don't have in the moment that would, I don't want to say motivate you to look outside of the relationship, but maybe a contributing factor to going to an external source of validation. So checking in with yourself to see what the motives behind those actions were and intentions were, and maybe even potentially seek out some counseling to see if you can get to the bottom of it and reestablish that connection within yourself, that trust within yourself and within your partner, to hopefully develop something more fruitful and find your footing back from that episode of emotional cheating.
Okay, yeah. I know one motivation that sometimes people do that we could probably just talk about is I'm doing this because I want to get my partner's attention. Or I'm doing this because my partner hurt me.
Mm.
There's a lot better ways to get your partner's attention than that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't know about the hurt. Yeah, it may cause some hurt, but the repercussions of that hurt may hurt you even worse than what
Mhm.
you think.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would I would caution on both those tales a little bit. But yeah, I would if you're in a relationship and this idea like you can't talk to your partner, I would also question the idea like where's that thought coming from really? Like, have you tried? And
Right.
has it been shown that that's not a safe place? Because I'm going to end up questioning then too. Again, I mentioned this in a previous episode. Emotional intimacy, that is what's giving access to your heart, your soul, like your essence, right? The physical intimacy is given, that's given process or acceptance to your body, connection to your body. So, but the intimacy we keep talking about and coming back to is emotional. Emotional intimacy is so key here.
Mm.
Communication thrives. Good, healthy communication is going to thrive in healthy emotional connection. So if you've already eliminated that, the question is where did you learn that?
Mhm.
Do you have an internal narrative that you just think if I share this, they're not going to like it? So, well, I'll go to a stranger because maybe I can get feedback from them and it doesn't hurt me. But you're not giving your spouse or your loved one or the person you're with the opportunity to maybe build a safe place with you. If you've been in a relationship and yeah, abuse in that has happened where you've tried and it's been cut down, then the question is going to have to be like, well, if it is that unsafe, then is that a relationship then that needs to continue? So
Right.
instead of feeling guilty by what you're doing or shameful or trying to hurt back or whatever, how about just have something healthy?
Right.
You
Because
know, like,
revenge is not healthy
yeah,
whatsoever. It's
yeah.
really, it only makes you hurt more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's the statement for revenge? Revenge digs two graves.
Okay, yes.
So this idea, I want to hurt my spouse. I mean, I've had relationships in front of me where that was honestly shared. I felt hurt by something. I wasn't getting something. So I thought if I went out, maybe he or she would see it and then give me what I'm missing. But what really happens is that person's like, oh, that's what you want? Divorce, separation, whatever. And the person's like, no, 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 no. That's not really what I wanted.
Right.
Well, you already threw the grenade. It's time to clean up the mess. So.
Definitely. Yeah. It seemed like there's a messy question out there that we asked the audience, would they prefer cheating one night or for 6 months or more?
And what's the reply?
Yeah, what's the reply? Yes, yeah, for sure. I'm not sure if they asked the audience or they are asking us. For me, it'd just be one night because maybe I could get out of that one night. Yeah, of torture, of not cheating. Yeah, I wouldn't want something to be hanging on for 6 months. That's like, yeah. I wouldn't want that. Yeah, for sure. So I'm not sure if we asked the audience or someone's just asking that question. And when you cheat once, how can I put it? It's best for your partner to hear it from you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Versus from anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hurt's going to be there no matter what, but it's going to hurt a lot worse if it comes from someone else.
And I have seen relationships make it after affairs.
Yeah.
But it really takes a person to be vulnerable into, yeah. Yeah. So if you're out there and you're also thinking, I don't know if my partner's cheating. You're maybe checking the phones, checking this. You're like, something's off. What should I do? I'm checking his phone all the time. I'm following him. I'm going by the job or going by her job, watching.
Oof.
I can't sleep. Yeah.
Well, we was back in the 90s, I'd say call cheaters. They'll do that for you. But look at what you're describing. The idea that someone believes their partner's doing that and the behavioral changes that they're willing to go under to go out of their way to even just find out. And sometimes you got to think, if you go looking for bad stuff, you're probably going to find it, even when it's not there.
Right.
So why? Why are you going to that extreme? And again, I'm going to pull it back to that person and say, what's in you? What's in you that's causing you to do that under the belief? Do you really not trust your spouse that much? Do you have evidence of some sort and you're trying to catch it? If you have evidence, why do you even need to catch it? I mean, what does it really make you feel? What can you do with that? Sometimes people think that's closure. Oh, if I go find it, I go by their work, I get into their phone, I'm going to get closure. Well, I would argue that may not actually give you closure. It may just lead to more hurt. The closure aspect is really on you, not the other person. So, but just what you're describing, it's like, that's a sad, it hurts my heart to know there are people out there that do that. Because as we know, that's not a healthy relationship by any means for both party members. So, there's, again, counseling. If the relationship is meant to last and you want to put the effort in, seek a counselor, get into the space where both of you can be held accountable, equal, and that your relationship is brought out into the focus where you don't have to worry about that. We can help with that. Or else you're going to have to ask that question, is this really what kind of love, the love I want to have? Is this the unsafe environment I want to be in? Because I don't know many people that want to be in that. That's hurt. And you can choose better. You can get out. It's not permanent. I hate to say it that way. Even as a pastor, it's the idea is no one's meant to be in an abusive relationship. So sometimes it's looking inside, finding out where's your strength, where's your boundaries, where's your value, what's your dignity, and is it being upheld by the other person?
Yeah, and Tommy, you brought up a really great point there about safety, right? Because if an individual is, enacting in all of those behaviors that Dr. April mentioned, there's the sense of safety there is not present, right? So what do we know about a lack of a sense of safety? That's the space where trauma can start to develop and formulate, right? So if you are going to your partner's workplace, if you're constantly looking through their phone, if it's becoming more of an obsessive compulsive type thing to check the phone 3, 4, 5 times a day if you have access to it, or to drive by their job multiple times a day, that can be traumatizing for somebody to have to go through, because you're expecting to find something. And as we know with trauma, we've mentioned on the podcast before, the body does keep the score. So that self check-in, that reflecting as to why somebody's doing that, again, the motivation behind the behavior, it's also impacting the body severely, because if our nervous system is under chronic stress, that can manifest in so many different types of ways. It can show up in health concerns and health issues. It can show up as, maybe depressive symptoms, or episodes of really, really heaviness, and feeling like there's no motivation to do anything at all. So the body is consistently communicating with us when we are not feeling a sense of safety. And especially if that sense of safety is not in those relationships with those closest to us, and we're constantly on edge, we're going to constantly have it activated, be in that fight or flight mode, and it's going to make doing the everyday things a lot more challenging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and besides, I know you guys did a great job on talking about check-in on yourself. As a couples can check in. Mm-hmm. Instead of doing all this, being an investigator is what I call, is when you're running around investigating, finding time for you and your partner to check in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and checking in, it's not just like, oh, are you cheating on me? Because sometimes that becomes a defense.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. But checking in is, how are you doing? Just checking what's going on with you, tell me about your day, what's going on, for sure. Because I think that really does help, is as a couple to check in. I think Backstage Techie had a thing. He says, I was cheated on heavily, manipulated, gaslighted, and I felt like I was crazy. It caused a lot of damage. So yes, when we've been, or a person's been cheated on, it can sometimes leave scars that get triggered. You know what I'm saying? If you've been in relationships and your boyfriend's girlfriend's cheated on you and stuff, and so you got rid of that person, but then you're in a new relationship, and maybe your partner takes too long to come home from work, or whatever the case may be, then you're like, oh my gosh, are they cheating on me? Is this happening all over again?
Yeah. I think cheating has a way of bringing trauma in similar fashions as like emotional, physical, spiritual abuses do as well. We start to see unsafety in, for lack of a better word, unsafety in safe environments. We start to assume the worst in everything. We assume people's motives are not really what they're telling us. And the best thing, I apologize, and I'm sorry that happened to you. As a man, I understand how that can feel. It's not a good thing, but what I can tell you in a healthy healing parameter, we have to get to a place where we start to learn more about ourselves and why we react the way we do, why we feel the way we do, and we can't place people in boxes. Relationships may fail, and that's got to be okay. And we got to look at the new relationship that we might be getting into in a way of letting that person be that person. Maybe, for lack of a better way, maybe a relationship failed because, someone worked odd hours and then you found out they were cheating. Okay, but you get a new relationship and they also work odd hours, but maybe it's not because they're cheating. Maybe that is just the hours they have. But you will equate the two if you don't separate the events, because the new person didn't hurt you like the old person. So separate the events and allow yourself to heal from what happened, so you can go into the new relationship fresh, and you can go into that one seeing them as the way they want to be seen, for who they are. Because no one wants to be cheated for, or treated for, the way that someone else treated you previously. And so I think it's always important, no matter if there is trauma, abuse, cheating, or it's just, hey, we weren't compatible. I think that's always a good time to refresh. I think part of this online thing brings in this idea that, like, oh, this relationship ended, so I got to get to a new one. And it's like right after another. You got to heal. And so again, gaslighting's real. And if I don't want to put you on the spot, Brittany, but you talk about Darvo well. So you want to explain that, because this sets up why someone who's been gaslighted and manipulated feels like they're going crazy. And if they're not careful, that thought they have of feeling crazy, it puts everybody in suspect. So do you mind explaining that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I'll touch upon it briefly because I know that next episode, it's going to be a part of our conversation. But Darvo is a concept that's found within abusive relationships, typically seen within the personality disorder spectrum of relationships, where the partner who is undiagnosed might experience the deny, attack, reverse victim offender. So that is a manipulation tactic or strategy that is used by somebody who has been diagnosed or is in that cluster B category as a form of either gaslighting, manipulating, or just trying to inadvertently change the narrative so that they're painted as the victim and the person who is truly suffering is painted as that offender. So they deny, then they turn it around and they attack, reverse it, become the victim, and then make the other person who in reality is the victim the offender.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just a big circle of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of mess.
It's repeated, and it can pop up in any and every situation, especially if somebody has a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was just thinking of the scars that when cheating happens, it leads to people feeling very abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you don't know yourself and have a secure attachment, you're like trying to search anywhere. Where can I connect? Where can I connect? Where can I connect?
And where we're always connected. We're always connected on our phones. So that's an automatic pivot to that. And that ties in the online attention and that emotional cheating aspect of things. It's just so easy. And I know that we've had conversations about it before, but we really do live in a society of immediate gratification. We can get anything we want delivered with the snap of our fingers or the push of a button. I could have groceries at my house before I get back to my house, in a few hours. So anything and everything is accessible. And I think that we've also included, others in that, other human beings in that, with our dating apps, with seeing, whatever models you might see on Instagram posting those thirst traps, men and women alike, because it's not really gendered. It's all across the board here. So it's about where we're investing that time, where we're investing that energy to, and if that's going to be productive for us or not.
Yeah. Wow. You just said a lot. And so I was just thinking, before we go into break, we can think about when people are hurting. And like you said, that phone, it's an instant attraction that if I'm hurting, I can go to this and get it resolved by liking someone, connecting with someone. Yeah. What can we do when we're in a relationship where we're hurting? What are some other avenues besides cheating? Or if cheating's in the relationship, what do I do next? So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about those two. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you wanting a vacation in paradise? A vacation to rekindle the passion? A vacation without the kids? A vacation where you can learn how to communicate, where you and your partner actually hear each other and gain insight? If so, vacation counseling is your next vacation. Dr. April Brown has created vacation counseling in Southwest Florida as a perfect option for you and your partner. Our retreats are one couple at a time. We have a variety of packages available to choose from, including virtual couples retreats. If you and your partner are interested in vacation counseling, please visit us at vacationcounseling.com for more information on pricing and packages. Also, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. To keep track of the latest news, stories, activities, or coupons on vacation counseling and Dr. April's other services, we encourage you to sign up to receive a monthly newsletter called Intimate Connections at draprilbrown.com. Remember, if you and your partner are struggling with communication and intimacy, and you all are looking for a retreat to connect, vacation counseling can be your next vacation in Southwest Florida.
Okay, welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. So I posed 2 questions, but I actually came up with 3.
Oh.
Yeah. And since there's 3 of us, so the first question is, what if you're in a relationship and there's cheating and you're hurting? What should you do?
I think this might depend on the person, the relationship, the longevity, as far as also history of this relationship. There's a lot that's going to go into this, but I think the first thing you got to do is you got to identify the pain and the hurt there, and you got to find out what is your true resources. Like, what are you capable of handling through this pain and this process? Can you get into counseling? Do you want the relationship to last? Do you want to move past this this situation, this betrayal? Or do you want to have it end? And even in that, you have to ask, do you want this to end healthy, in a justful way, where you have peace for yourself, where you can heal from it? So again, there's a lot that has to be also on top of this asked of the person too, for them. But again, I think all of us as being counselors, we're always going to advocate. Counseling is going to be a great way to work that out, that process and those questions in a safe environment.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes. So Brittany, we may have listeners out there who are cheating. They're in this, and whether they love both partners, whether they're just doing it for the physical thing, whether they're hurting, but they know that they're not living their authentic lives of some sort. There's a conflict there. What should they do?
I think that, again, as a therapist, have to push going to counseling would be a great place to start exploring what led you to cheat. What did your life look like when you were younger? What did that inner child experience when you were growing up? Where did you first learn about your relationships? As we've talked about before, our parents are our first teachers, down to how we hold our spoons. So how we picked up, what relationships are supposed to look like, more often than not, comes from how they interacted with each other. Was there a parent who was cheating actively when you were younger that you witnessed? Was there a lot of fighting going on in the home? How did you view love when you were younger? How did you receive love? How do you give love? All of these questions are really important to ask oneself and to reflect upon, to kind of understand yourself as a whole. Understand the motives that we keep coming back to, the motivations behind your behavior. What is the source of that? Counseling is a wonderful place to start that exploration. There's also some really wonderful books out there that can help with that as well, maybe get you started on that journey, but always getting curious about yourself and what the motivations behind your behaviors are can be very, very empowering, because as Tommy mentioned our last episode, he says once we have the awareness, we have the ability to make a choice. So once we have that awareness about ourselves, where maybe our behaviors might be stemming from or why we may act the way that we do, we have the ability to choose differently. And more often than not, sometimes the first place to get that curiosity does start in the counseling space, because it is a safe space to process these things.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, for sure. Yeah. And if you're in a relationship and there is cheating out there and you and your partner have talked about it, doesn't mean that the relationship completely has to end. Okay. There are many thousands and millions of relationships that have surpassed and have actually gotten better after the disclosure of cheating has happened and they work through it. And I know both Brittany and Tommy have said about counseling, but some people are saying, well, I don't want to go to counseling because I'm gonna have to put out my dirty laundry. Have you guys heard? I don't know if in um, the Hispanic world, if there's something similar that's in the African American world. Yeah, we have to put out our dirty laundry. However, when you go into counseling, you're really helping yourself, and it's a non-judgmental spot.
Yeah, if I take your analogy, yeah, I've heard it too. I don't want to put out my dirty laundry. Well, you're coming to a place where we accept that, because at the end of the day, we're going to help you clean it. We're going to help you leave with clean laundry, but it takes a process, and we're going to have to wash some things. We're going to have to dry some things, air it out, if you name it. So, at least one way or the other, that laundry is coming out. That has to be understood too. So why not have it be done in a safe place where judgment is not in that space, but care and safety is, where you can leave with cleaner items than what you're displaying.
Yeah, and I love that analogy, Tommy. And to your point, Dr. April, about the Hispanic community, we definitely do have a version of that. We have it. It's called chisme. Chisme is very, very popular in the Hispanic community, and there's been so many plays on it in either TV shows, movies, even musicals. Big musical fan. Musicals have songs dedicated to being about chisme, chismeando, the act of the chisme. And chisme is essentially just gossiping, right? But in a way where it might potentially be detrimental to others. There is an aspect of chisme that might be perceived as being innocent. I see a lot of the times, cafecito y chisme, or let's have a cafecito while we chismear about the family, or we chismear about our friends, essentially talking poorly about them or whatever they might be experiencing or going through. And if that's a concern for you, especially within Hispanic communities, we really do not encourage counseling at all. It's actually frowned upon in a lot of aspects. To speak with somebody, especially a stranger, about what's going on in your home, God forbid. However, if we have that safe space to be able to engage in the chisme in a healthier way, Tommy, again, to your point, it is going to come out eventually. It might come out through cheating. It might come out through a behavior that doesn't align with what you are authentically. But again, having the space to have those conversations where it's safe, there is no judgment, there is nobody here who's going to be putting you down. And if a therapist does do that, please go find another therapist, because that is not a good therapist. This space is supposed to be for someone to process the heaviest of the heavy. And we are more than welcome and willing to engage in that chisme, so to speak, to get you to the point where you feel comfortable enough to live authentically. That's always the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's to help you heal, to help the relationship heal. Yeah, for sure. Good. Well, thank you. Yes. Tommy, what's coming up next?
Well, we got a lot of good things coming up. So if you've been following the episodes, you notice that we're following the acronym emotional intimacy. So we just got done with O. On August 13th, our next live episode, we're going to be in the T, trauma bonds and true love. Following that, the next live episode on August 27th, we're going to be an I, which is is intimacy in the age of hookup culture. So you're definitely not going to want to swipe left on that one. You're definitely going to be involved, and stay tuned, because it's a big thing. However, let me also let you guys know that we have episodes running also on the off weeks. We have been producing some of our topics as we get together in the in-between weeks to talk. You can catch some of that, get a little sneak peek on what's coming up, as well as catching other episodes. As always, if you like what we are talking about and you are wanting to continue being a part of this, please like, share. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you can be aware of not only when content comes out, but when we're going live. Please send us out to everybody, anybody you can.
Yeah, and if you ever want to catch any of our past episodes or our past segments, you're more than welcome to explore our YouTube channel, our Facebook, and our Instagram, see some highlight reels, maybe get some more opinions and feedbacks, and bring those questions in, because we're always accepting questions to answer in our up-and-coming episodes.
Yes, so thank you all for listening, and we will see you all in 2 weeks live. Next week, we'll also be here. You can catch an episode. And this has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. To continue the conversation, visit us at bringingintimacyback.com and connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, YouTube, and your favorite podcast platforms. Looking to deepen your relationships even further? Check out Dr. April Brown's Improving Intimacy book series, now available on Amazon and Kindle, including the newest edition, Open Hearts, Strong Bonds. Be sure to join us again next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another meaningful conversation about relationships, connection, communication, and intimacy. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, share, and leave a review to help us bring intimacy back to even more people. Until next time, keep building deeper connections, one conversation at a time.